Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we discuss day-to-day problems people face in their lives. Let's start with the video. My 37 male family comes from a long line of doctors. Being a doctor is the only acceptable profession in their eyes, and anything aside from that is met with literal abandonment. Which is what happened to me when I turned 17 and I told my family I was not going to be a doctor, but to build an acting career, social media career, YouTube wasn't huge then, and supplement my income with small business endeavors. When I told my family this, they kicked me out and we subsequently lost contact for 17 years. During that time, they moved to the UK and my sister became a doctor and my older brother got into a very competitive stream for surgery, neurosurgery specializing in spinal tumor diagnosis and removal, which he has now finished. We reconnected when COVID hit and they told me they were moving back to Sydney for lifestyle reasons and because my brother has found a $750K a year job. During the last 2 years, they never asked me how my acting career, social media stuff went, and basically assumed I was just slumming in Sydney. To their credit, they were correct in that I didn't make it big in acting. Maybe the world wasn't ready for a mainstream leading role Indian, or make it at all. I did, however, make it big as an investment banker and recently made a partner at the bank I work at. This came to head on Friday when I met them for house shopping. I walked to meet them, and when they asked about my car, I just said I preferred to walk. And they realized the areas they wanted to live, despite being highly paid medical professions, simply wasn't going to be happening, as the houses cost north of $20 million. When we decided to call it a day and regroup, they suggested going to my place before going out to dinner. When we arrived at my house, they thought I was renting a room and inquired how much rent was. I informed them that I wasn't renting and that this was my house. They lost their mind, accusing me of lying to them for years and only meeting up to rub their face in my probably illegally gained wealth, and capped it off by informing me that they will be living with me now instead of my oldest brother, since they can't be living in a worse house than their son. I laughed at them and reminded them that they bet on my brother and sister, not me, and that they have a better chance of living with my neighbors than me. At that point, they threatened to cut me out of their will, to which I reminded them of the fact that they can't even afford to buy it in my area, so their will and assets don't really matter to me. Now, they aren't talking to me and my brother and sister are saying I should have been proactive in letting them know of my success. I have a public LinkedIn profile, so they literally never Googled me. Edit. Getting a lot of hate about including the term social media influencer in my post. To clarify, this was 19 years ago, and I believe social media influencer is probably the updated term for socialite. I wanted to be famous, but I had no real skills or plan as to how I was going to achieve that goal, like most social media people. They cut you out when you informed them that you were refusing to fit into the mold that they wanted you to fit into. They spat on your goals, even if the acting gigs didn't pan out, and then cut you out of their lives until it was convenient for them to have you back in their lives. You owe your parents no updates on your success when they had made it clear that they were not willing to support any other routes to success if it wasn't what fit their rigid definitions. From one child cut out of their parents' will because of plenty drama to another, you are not the a-hole. Ha, nice. I'm in a similar situation. I'm the youngest out of 4 siblings and only male. I wasn't very bright in school compared to my older sisters. One of my sisters is my favorite child, and all of the other siblings, including me, knew this. Anyways, my mom, single parent, always thought I was the black sheep of the family and wouldn't mount to anything like my dad, who wasn't there for me. And that my sister would become successful and buy her a big home to retire to, yada yada yada. Fast forward to present time. The favorite child is nowhere near successful, no career and no degree, just door dashing, and went to community college to pursue nursing for 9 years and didn't even finish, and realized she didn't want to be a nurse. It was just something my mom wanted her to do so she can marry another nurse or doctor and become rich. I stopped communicating with my mom on and off, and for like 3 to 5 years here and there, and now we don't talk again. I was the only sibling to finish bachelor's degree and been working for a private equity hedge fund and making over 6 figures and house and wife and kid. Only debt is mortgage, as I became personal finance literate unlike my mother. Have condo units overseas, stocks and retirement. Not as gallant as yours, but you get the idea. My mom tried to take credit for my success. She wasn't even there to see me graduate high school or college, even though she was 5 minutes away. My family friend who drove 16 hours to see me graduate came for both my high school and college. F you, mom. They kick you out, ignore you for years, insult you to your face, and then have the gall to inform you that they are moving into your house. Not the a-hole OP. It sounds to me like they were utterly uninterested in your life until after they learned that you were successful. And then they only wanted to sponge off of you. They didn't even pretend to care about you, they just started making demands. But as you made it on your own, you don't owe them, and they don't own you or your property. As for being proactive and letting them know about your success, these should have been proactive in learning about your life, especially if leeching off their children was their plan for the future, instead of assuming you'd be a failure. I'm not sure why you aren't already no contact with them, but you might consider it. Next story. I, 24 male, am going to propose to my girlfriend, 24 female, soon. I bought the ring and basically took it on a tour to show all of her friends and get their approval, and all of my friends to do the same. I then asked her dad for his blessing and her mom too. I didn't feel like asking her mom was all too important, but I did it anyway because her mom likes to be a part of things. I'm really excited about this because me and my girlfriend have been together for about 5 years now, and we met in college. She's always wanted her immediate family and friends there when she got engaged, and I love the idea. So recently, since about June of this year, I've been getting her used to having those people around so that when I finally popped the question, she wouldn't be suspicious. Here's the problem and why I don't want to invite her mom. My girlfriend called me earlier this week and was like, "Babe, you're fake." Me being confused asks what she's talking about, and she says, "My mom said she has seen the ring and that you're gonna propose to me on Thanksgiving, and everyone will be at her house when you do it, so I should dress nicely." I tell her that her mom is lying and that isn't the case, and she doesn't believe me. That was my original plan, but it got ruined, so now Thanksgiving comes and goes and nothing happens. Surprise is ruined. My girlfriend is mad at me because she was really expecting it to happen. I then call her mom and tell her mom that she will no longer be notified when I propose because she clearly cannot keep one secret and ruined it. The mom said I was selfish to keep her away from the party and that I had better think twice before doing that. I told her whatever and mind her business, and she'll find out when she finds out. She called my girlfriend and told my girlfriend something completely different, and now my girlfriend is angry and talking to me because she thinks I was being an a-hole. I feel bad. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Girlfriend and I spoke, and she asked me what happened between her and her mother. I told her straight up what happened. I told her I wanted to be a surprise, and she agreed that she would rather me do it unexpectedly and was shocked that her mom actually told her since she knows how much she likes surprises. She then called her mom and told her off. Her mom apologized to me but still feels like she had the right to say something about it since my girlfriend is her daughter, and now it has gotten to the point where the girlfriend doesn't want mom around for the engagement party because she doesn't like her sense of entitlement. Her mom is now angry because she feels like I'm too stubborn and have brainwashed her daughter and is now not speaking to me. I'm now going to propose at our New Year's Eve party when we watch the ball drop. Edit 2. I'm in no way sexist. The reason I said asking mother-in-law wasn't important was because when my girlfriend and I talked about marriage, she always told me that asking her mom for her blessing was irrelevant and that I only needed her dad's blessing, just to clear that up. Not the a-hole. Your mother-in-law did something that was extremely disrespectful to yourself and your future wife. She selfishly stole what was meant to be a beautiful moment between you two, and in doing so ruined everyone's efforts over the last 6 months. Something to consider, though, is how your future wife will feel about excluding her mother from this important moment. That is, do you think it will ruin the surprise in your girlfriend's memory, etc.? Maybe alternatively, just don't tell the mother-in-law or anyone else who might tell that you're proposing the day you decide. That way she can be there without an opportunity to ruin the moment. Something else to consider, how close is your girlfriend and her mother? Once you're married to your wife, you absorb her family, including any quirks and bad behaviors they may have. So ponder if this is something you could deal with for several decades. Not the a-hole. Your mother-in-law should not have blabbed. However, I'd like to make the distinction now that while I don't think you're the a-hole, your reactions have unfortunately made things harder for you and your girlfriend. You can't have a surprise proposal anymore. Yes, it was your mother-in-law's fault, but now you must adapt or accept. Since you didn't propose at the expected time, your girlfriend is angry at you. Will you propose to her when she's done being angry? How long will you wait? And how will she be done? When do you propose? After you propose and tell her your side of the story, how will your girlfriend react? Will she also be mad at her mom to the point where she agrees about your decision? What if she doesn't agree? So are you prepared to have her angry about that in the future? I don't think mother-in-law should have been loose-lipped in the first place. She was the one who got you in this mess. But this is a rock and a hard place situation for yourself. And what matters now is your girlfriend's happiness and how these future events that'll play out will affect her. I strongly hope you guys can reach some compromise because you both deserve to be happy over this occasion. Everyone sucks here. You wanted a surprise proposal, then told a bunch of people. Your mother-in-law couldn't keep a secret. Then when she blabbed, you didn't do the straightforward thing and confess to your girlfriend. Yep, that's what I was planning. Do you still want me to do it even though you know? Or should I wait and surprise you another time? Instead, you lied, said you hadn't been planning the Thanksgiving proposal when you actually lied, and let your girlfriend get her hopes up and be disappointed. Surprise proposals aren't worth all the stress. Next story. We hosted Thanksgiving at my place. My brother, his wife, and their almost 4-year-old son were among the guests. As people were leaving, my brother asked if my nephew could take home one of my 2-year-old son's toy trucks. My nephew had been playing with it nonstop since they arrived and wanted to keep it. My brother said that he'd replace the toy if I told him where I got it. I told my brother that I'd be happy to give him a link to the store where I bought it, but I would not give him the toy then and there. I refused for 2 reasons. Firstly, my brother's sister-in-law has a terrible habit of giving my nephew everything he asks for. He's way too old for that. Secondly, I don't want to reinforce to my nephew that it's okay to just take things that he wants. My brother said that my nephew would throw a tantrum if he didn't get the toy then and there, and that everything would be easier if I just let him take the toy, and get sent a replacement in the mail. I told my brother that I would not be an enabler for my nephew's bad behavior, and that it's my brother and sister-in-law's problem if he throws a tantrum. Of course, the inevitable happened. My nephew started shrieking inconsolably at the top of his lungs, and my brother, sister-in-law, and nephew had to leave. Later that evening, I got an angry text from my brother saying that my nephew screamed his head off for the entire 3-hour car ride home and only stopped screaming after he literally passed out from exhaustion. He said that the tantrum was my fault since it would have been completely avoided if I'd just given my nephew the toy, and accused me of backseat parenting, since in his words, it's not my place to set an example for his son. My wife thinks we should have just handed the toy over to make things easier, especially since our son has a ton of toys and is not particularly attached to that specific truck and would not have noticed it missing for just a couple of days. I still maintain that it's well within my rights to set an example for my nephew, even if it goes against my brother or sister-in-law's parenting style of coddling their son, and that the tantrum is 100% a result of their terrible parenting habits. Not the a-hole. Your brother may think it's easier to give in to his son's tantrums, but he's starting to reap what he's sown now. The 3-hour tantrum is his own fault for never teaching the kid proper boundaries and for teaching him that his parents would give him anything if he'd just throw a tantrum. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. This boy throws tantrums because they work. They work because his parents always cave. The real a-holes are his parents who are setting firm boundaries for what is and is not good behavior. You did not cause this, and almost always you should do what is right instead of doing what keeps the peace. When you keep the peace, the a-holes always win. Lie to everyone sucks here. Your brother and his wife were absolutely in the wrong for making their kids' behavior your fault. Nephew's behavior is not your fault, no matter your decision about the toy. Where I do think you're a little bit the a-hole is that you took this chance to berate your brother's parenting. You clearly have opinions about his parenting skills, which means you've seen this happen over the years and thus have had plenty of time to talk about it in a less charged environment. The end of a holiday meal where they're staring down the face of a 3-hour drive with a tantrum-prone child isn't really the time to give advice and have it be listened to and taken to heart. I think you were right to not hand over your child's toy, and your wife is probably sick of hearing you complain about your brother, so I can see where she's coming from. Next story. So my mom, 29 male, got divorced from my dad when I was 6 years old and my sister was 8 years old. She didn't want anything to do with us, and she eventually got remarried to a guy who had a daughter 1 year younger than me. Our dad never remarried, and it was years later that we found out that she cheated on dad with the guy she married. But she got back in contact with us when my sister turned 18 and has been in contact with us since. And I have to admit, she has been a good mother ever since, and we have a good relationship with our half-sister also. Now, before going any further, I must disclose that I was one of the founders of an app which was bought by a big private equity fund, and I got a high 8-figure settlement as a result. Also, I was a very early investor in Bitcoin, so from that also I earned massive profit. Suffice to say, I am very well to do. So, my sister decided to get married earlier this year and I paid for the whole ceremony. It cost around 80K in total. No issues, as I can afford it, and my sister was very happy, which is what matters in the end. But now my stepsister is getting married next month and she called me to say that I should help her with her expenses for the wedding. I refused. Why would I pay for her wedding? But then my mom called me and said that I shouldn't discriminate between my two sisters. Like, what the F? I only have one. My mom says that since my stepsister and her fiance are not very well to do, I should help them. I told her that just because I paid for my own sister's wedding doesn't mean I would pay for the wedding of the daughter of the guy she left us for. But she said that I'm being petty. My sister and dad are on my side. Am I the a-hole, Reddit? Not the a-hole. You paid for your sister's wedding using your own money. Your sister was and is a part of your life. Your stepsister has nothing to do with you, and her demanding that you help out for her wedding is ridiculous. She's not even remotely related to you. It's your money to do what you want with. She's 28 years old. If her and her fiance are not very well to do, then it doesn't sound like they should be having an expensive wedding, and then expecting someone else to pay for it is ridiculous. Like you said, why would you pay for her wedding? Not the a-hole. Your generosity isn't a right and they sound entitled. It would be different if she asked maybe for a very little amount to help since they aren't well off, but it should not be expected, and saying no needs to be accepted. Your mother sounds like an enabler and probably planted the seed that you would pay for your stepsister's wedding. They need a reality check. Absolutely not the a-hole. Petty? She cheated on your dad and married that other guy who happened to already have a daughter. You don't owe her anything. Since my stepsister and her fiance are not well-to-do, I should help them. I told her that just because I paid for my own sister's wedding, it doesn't mean that I would pay for the wedding of the daughter of the guy she left us for. First, the stepsister and fiance can pay for the wedding they can afford or save for the one that is better. Second, with regard to what you told your mother, I don't think it could have been said any better. This is not even a child that your mother and her husband had together. It's from a previous relationship. Wow. The gall of the stepsister and your mother is astounding. Please, please, please do not back down. No one is entitled to your money, least of all a stepsister with whom you did not grow up, who has the guts to call and tell you that you should pay for her wedding.